All right, guys, I want to welcome you to the call tonight. We have two very special guests that we brought in. They are exploding stars in this business. You know them from Team Hustle and the Team Hustle call every Sunday. Um, I just want to make a little brief introduction and tell you the intent in this call. Tara, Steve, and I have basically talked about how we want to start some training geared particularly towards the new associates that are coming in. And we want to do it by seasoned veterans in the business, such as Tara, such as Steve, senior directors that are battle hardened and are, currently leading their teams to great success. The great part about this is when you create a network, we're not talking just about your network within your friends and family and those that you work with or whatever, but the network that you create within Stream is just as important, because now you can actually form friendships with people like Steve and Tara, and they are incredible leaders in this business. And that has afforded me the ability to bring them onto the Zoom call tonight for all of you guys. So at this point, I want to introduce Steve Guzman. He's a 2017 finalist for the Rising Star. He is the creator of an amazing website. If you have not checked it out yet, it is traintosucceed.com. It is spectacular, especially for those that are new in the business, but even those that are seasoned in the business as well. His training videos are second to none. And we're going to bring Steve on now to kind of ask him to share his story and his why and why he got started in this business in the first place. So, Steve?
Yeah, thanks, man. Thanks for the introduction. Thank you guys for coming on. I hope everybody gets something out of this. Yeah, my story. So just to clarify, the website is train2succeed.com. Bergio, what are you doing? I see you down there. Anyway, so the reason that I got into Stream is very simple, guys. I'll quickly tell you. My story might not be, the same as a lot of people's. I actually had a really good job. I had great benefits. I worked for a large pharmaceutical company. I started out in the manufacturing side of that, and we were actually manufacturing vaccines. And then now I'm on the research side. I do some small batch testing on some experimental vaccines, and it's a pretty cool job, but it has great benefits. It has good pay. And I just found myself, one of the best things about where I work was that it was open book overtime. So you could literally work as much overtime as you wanted. They paid really well. They paid double time on part of that overtime. So I found myself getting into a trap where I was just working tons and tons of overtime, and I just was not happy. I was miserable. When you spend your life at work, everybody's doing the same thing, so everybody's miserable. It took a toll on my body, and I just was missing too many family functions. And one family function I had to miss because I was working. My grandfather was in the hospital the next day, and I thought to myself, what if that was the last time I would have seen him? And here I was working. And, I looked around my break room and I saw people who were getting ready to retire, and they just couldn't even retire yet because they were so used to all the overtime. And I thought, man, if I don't make a change, that's going to be me in 30 years. And I don't want to live the next 30 years like this. I have to do something different than what I'm doing now. And it just so happened that my real estate agent, who actually happens to be a friend of my wife's, started Stream in January of 2016. And she told me about this great business she started. At that time, I wasn't quite ready. It wasn't until July in the summer, when I was still working all that overtime and spending all that time at work, and I should have been hanging out with friends, enjoying my life, when I finally said, you know what, maybe I'll take a look at this. And all she did really was just say, hey, listen, you should call this guy George. And I called George. George, we met up. He did a presentation for me, and I got started right away. And my big motivating factor for doing this is, I had a few near-death experiences. I realized that life can be taken from you very quickly, and we only get one shot at life. So I refused to spend my life just living a mediocre life and working and paying bills, missing family functions. I decided that I needed to make the absolute most of my one shot at life. And so that's why I got started with Stream, and because I believe Stream can afford me the time freedom that I wouldn't normally have in working my 9-to-5 job. And so far, it's afforded me a lot of time freedom. So that's my why.
Outstanding. Thank you for sharing that, Steve. Now I want to introduce the third wheel of our Zoom call tonight. She's a 2016 Power of Leadership Award winner, a 2017, well, actually, I guess I should say 2018 300 Club member, So at this point, I want to introduce Tara Woodman and ask her to share her story and her why.
Okay. Hey guys, I'm excited to be on the call tonight. My story is I started the business back in July 24th of 2013. Had just newly gone through a divorce. Was starting over again with 2 kids, single mom. A friend of mine who showed me the business. To be honest with you, I wasn't really interested in it. I just did it to get her off my back. And she just kept begging me about it, so I just went ahead and jumped in. I made $1,300 pretty quickly. Put the business down for about 6 months. Went to a Super Saturday event on my 36th birthday. Walked in the room and seen people like myself who were making a lot of money and who were successful within Stream. It was at that point I decided I was going to, take this business seriously. It took me 6 months from January 12th to July 24th to promote to a senior director, and I haven't looked back since I started.
Wow, that's an amazing story. Guys, if you pay attention here, we have 2 guys on this, 2 people on this call that both promoted to senior director within their first 9 months. You were 9 months, Steve, right?
I was 5.
Five, excuse me.
Yeah.
So Tara did it in 6, Steve did it in 5.
Actually, it took me 1 year. I signed up on July 24th, 2013, and I promoted to a senior director July 24th, 2014.
Okay, but it's still that's fast. And once you see the potential in this business and you actually take what you have and the opportunity that's given to us and run with it, you guys should and could be a senior director within your first year. And that's very powerful because that's where all of the money. Listen, we get into this for the money, all right? That's the main motivating factor for us to get started. In the transition to that, it becomes a lot more. It becomes about relationships. But for all of us to start in the beginning, it starts with money, and senior director is where the real money starts to begin. So, we are big on training, the 3 of us, and we talk a lot about it. And, Steve has actually created a website that is phenomenal if you've not had a chance to see it. But recently, he was recognized at Ignition this past year as a rising star in this business. So I wanted to ask you, Steve, what has that rising star meant to you? I know you're a humble guy, but if you could just share with us, the impact that's had on you to get that recognition.
Yeah, I mean, so last year, 2017 was the first Ignition I had been to, and I promoted to senior director January 30th, and so I was able to attend the leadership gala as a senior director, and so I went to that leadership gala and I saw a bunch of my friends, Tara Woodman being one of them, a bunch of my friends getting recognized for awards, rising stars, power of leadership. And I said to my wife at that time, I said, I'm going to get one of those awards. And that just became a goal of mine. And so, it's funny because I didn't really know what that, I just wanted, it was just a goal. It was something I wanted. And, to be recognized and to be, I guess, awarded that award was to me, it was amazing because really that award was given to me by the people that were really responsible for it. There's so many people responsible for that award. It really has nothing to do with me. I just literally followed the right people and connected with the right people. And so it was an incredible honor. It really was. And I, like I said, I can't really take credit for it because there are a lot of people responsible for that.
All right. Well, again, he's a very humble guy.
It's true. That's honest truth. It really is.
But recognition is truly deserved here because Steve is one of the top rising stars in this business. So it was actually very happy. It was actually a very proud moment for me attending my first leadership gala to see Steve and his wife recognized as a rising star. I actually think I still have bruises on my knee from banging the table, jumping. That's just the kind of friendship that Steve and I have built over I would say the last 6 months. The funny story is I never met Steve. I never knew of Steve. I went to a training in Allentown, and the training that he did was on social media, and I was so moved by what I saw and the power of what he was teaching that I reached out to him, and in that we've been able to build a great friendship. I consider him actually to be one of my best friends and my accountability partner now in this business. But Steve, I want to talk to you about the website that you designed. And again, for you that have not been on it, it is train2succeed.com. So Steve, when you put that together, can you just kind of go over the intent that you had when you designed it?
Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of a funny story. Actually, that was in October of last year. We actually had a promotion where it was free for anybody to join for a little while. What happened was, a lot of us had big explosion of growth on our teams, myself included, and I had a lot of people coming in at one time. And I just know how important training is. I mean, I just have a little bit more of an engineering type mentality, I guess, and so I'm very thorough, in my opinion, to a fault. Sometimes I overtrain. So what happened was when all these people came onto the team, I realized that there was no way for me to train everybody. And not only that, people were coming on and they were sponsoring people immediately before they even got trained, so it was this big explosion. And I thought, I got to make something that's duplicatable. So that's why I make a lot of videos. And so I thought the website, I pay for that every month. And I thought that website would be a great idea. I can just put it in a welcome email and blast it out to people, and you guys feel free to do the same thing. And so I made a welcome email. As soon as I get that email that somebody joined the team, they have the phone number and the email on there for a reason. So I call them, I welcome them to the team, I tell them to expect an email with me, and that email is going to have my just a brief background of me and a little bit about this business, welcoming them to the business. And it also has my training website on it. So that way they can go, and it's a one-stop shop. See, now our power center is it's a lot better now, but before, and not that the old one was bad, but the videos were not necessarily in the same place. They weren't all in one place. So I thought I would just make it easy for everybody and put all the videos in one place. And that way it was duplicatable and anybody could access it at any time that they wanted. And I also threw some personal development videos and some great training videos like Tara talking about how to gather customers, just anything that I felt that was useful that people could go and do their own research and look at their own pace.
All right. Well, awesome. And for those of you that do not know, you can actually follow Steve on YouTube too. He has some great videos on there as far as how coding works, how promoting works, and all that. So he has a lot of content on YouTube as well. So Steve, you and I are both big believers in the Big Al, Jerry Scribner version of the 1-minute presentation. And, we've been talking a lot about it, you and I, especially with our teams, but you actually had major success in the cold market using the 1-minute presentation. You were able to get a guy on your team. He's now been qualified within his first week. So can you kind of talk about the impact that the 1-minute presentation had, in your cold market?
Yeah, absolutely. So I built my business getting a senior director by probably the same methods that most people use, and they work, don't get me wrong. Now, typically what I would do is when I would find somebody who was interested in an opportunity to make some money, I wouldn't tell them anything. I would just tell them, look, it's something you have to see. And, and what I found was by doing that and just trying to set an appointment without giving them any information at all, a lot of times I lost them in between. They would say, oh yeah, I'll call you tomorrow. Of course, you never got a phone call. You would say, I'll call you. And then of course they would never answer, or they wouldn't. So I was getting no calls, no shows. A lot of times people wouldn't show up. And I just felt, I don't want to say it was sleazy, because that was never my intention, but I felt sleazy, almost like withdrawing and not telling them what it was about, almost like I was kind of trapping them. And I guess that was kind of the intent in a way, but not, in a bad way. And so what I found the 1-minute presentation, the reason I love it so much is you don't necessarily have to do it exactly as it is. I mean, some people will say do it verbatim. To me, honestly, I think that there are a couple key takeaways. The 1-minute presentation, what I find is that it's not enough all the time. People usually want to find a little bit more information, but I think it gives them enough information in a short period of time, 1 minute or less. I mean, typically it's less than 40 seconds. And it gives them enough information to at least get them interested enough to maybe do a follow-up meeting or take a deeper look. I mean, how many times do you just send somebody a video and say, oh, I can't tell you anything about it, you have to see it, watch this video, and weeks later they haven't had time to watch a 10-minute video, but they have 47,000 Facebook posts in between, or all these selfies. I mean, so it's just because that you haven't given them enough information. So what I find with the 1-minute presentation is that it gives them enough information. Some people, if they're open-minded enough, will be tempted to join on the spot, but most people will want a little bit more. But you can just really address those things as they come. And there are only a few things that people really need to know before they get started. And one would be, what is your business? 2 would be how much money you can make, and 3 would be what do you have to do to get there. And the 1-minute presentation addresses all of those concerns. So it's a one-stop shop to basically gauge people's curiosity.
So just flying off the cuff here, I just want to expound on that a little bit. Now, your most recent guy that you brought onto your team, you actually met in Starbucks, correct?
Correct.
And he has a huge soccer organization of a network to pull from, right?
Yeah, he actually bought a franchise, and it's called Happy Feet. And what they do is they do little soccer training camps, and it teaches young kids communication skills as well as learning the game of soccer, and it gets them exercise, and it's a really neat thing.
Wow. See, that guy's done while in Starbucks, and I think all he did was comment on a hat he was wearing and just kind of took it from there, if I remember correctly, right?
Well, it was actually his shirt. So he had a sweatshirt and it said Happy Feet on it. And the night before, I watched an episode of Shark Tank, and they were doing it for a business called Happy Feet. Turned out to be different businesses, but either way, it just started the conversation. I asked him if that's what he did full time. He said no, he'd love to, but it's not making the money he was hoping, or it's not quite where it wants to be yet. And I said, well, I think I have something that can help transition you into that. He asked what it was. I did a 1-minute presentation, and then we set up 2 more meetings afterwards. But I knew he was going to come back for those meetings because of the 1-minute presentation.
Guys, I just want to point out how powerful that is, because you need to step out of your comfort zone when especially in the cold market. You know, Steve commented on a shirt, and sometimes that's all it takes. You can comment on their shoes, comment on their hat, comment on whatever coffee they're buying for, at the counter at Starbucks. But all you have to do is, it's an icebreaker to start a conversation and offer what we have to give them. And it's very, very powerful. So, Steve, I know you got something going on planned with the wife, so if you can just take a minute to give some final thoughts.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Guys, what I would say, definitely, a lot of people, this is a side business, but at the same time, it is a business. And if you want to make, a little bit of extra money, that's fine. You can just treat it like a hobby. If you really want to make life-changing money, and not everybody does, but if you really want life-changing money, treat this like a business. And what I mean by that is go through your power center, go through your website, learn as much as you can. You wouldn't believe how many people I talk to that have been in the business and don't even know we offer virtual MD or certain services. I mean, you can't expect to be successful if you're not an expert in your own business. Don't rely on other people. The Facebook pages are great if you have a few questions that you can't find answers to, but be a good business owner, do your own research. Also follow people that you want to be, that you respect, not necessarily that you want to be like, because you want to be your own best version of yourself, but follow people that you respect, are successful in the business. Learn from everybody and seek out the information. Leaders go seek information. They don't expect things to get handed to them. So take the initiative, be a responsible business owner, go seek information, align yourself with other leaders. And most importantly for me, because I still struggle with this to this day, but be patient and fall in love with the journey, because when it gets difficult, and it will get difficult for everybody multiple times, many times, when it gets difficult and you get frustrated, realize that there's a lesson to be learned in those situations, and that's going to help build up those mental calluses in your mind and make you a tougher, stronger version of yourself so that you can handle the success you're about to give. So just realize it's part of the journey, that you can't get to the top without going through that. Just like you can't get to the top of the mountain without going through all that rough terrain. You just have to go through it. So fall in love with the journey.
All right, Steve, thanks a lot for hopping on. Tell Monica that we said hello. And I hope you don't mind, I'm going to bring on the better looking version now.
Absolutely not. I second that. I'm happy to have Tara follow me up.
So it's just a quick story about Tara. Again, expounding on the networks that you create within Stream. I didn't know Tara. I've only known of Tara. Of course, you can't be in this business and not know about Tara and her team and the success that they've been having. But it was actually through the relationship that I have with Steve that I was able to form a relationship with Tara. She's become a great mentor to me. I don't know if she knows that personally, but the reason that we wanted to have her on, especially for you new associates, is she's one of the top customer gatherers in the entire company. She's been able to have great success in teaching her team to also gather customers. So Tara, if you don't mind, what tips would you give to a new associate to help them gather customers within their warm markets?
Thank you so much for the kind words, Andy. I appreciate that. Guys, like I said, I've been doing this for, I would say, going on 5 years. This July will be 5 years I've been doing this. So I've learned a lot along the way, made a lot of mistakes along the way, but hopefully some of the tips that I can give you tonight will help all of you guys in growing your organization and your customer base. Obviously when you're dealing with friends and family, your approach to getting customers is much different than it is when dealing with a stranger. So normally when I bring somebody on who's new, I ask them, like, why did you start this business? Like, there's got to be a reason why you started, because there can be more downtimes than there are uptimes. So it's important for me to figure out from my new associate why they started Stream. And once I can identify that why with them, I'll have them sit down and write a list of about 15 people, and we'll make those phone calls to friends and family, and we'll express to them, why they started the business, and we have a way that we could help them either match or save, some money on their energy bill, but we would, appreciate their support, and the reason why, like X, Y, and Z. I don't know why somebody starts a business, but just say they wanted to put their kid through college. They started a college fund. Would you become my customer in order to help me support sending my daughter or son to college? But just finding out what that person's why is. And now obviously with family, that normally works. For me, it didn't. My family was not supportive of me when I started. To be honest with you, I had better luck with strangers than I did my own family. But people like Steve Guzman came in and his whole entire family supported him. So I would just say that your approach has to be different with family members than it is complete strangers. So with complete strangers, I always start the conversation off. I mean, obviously I don't go, when I'm out at like football or something with my son, or I'm meeting somebody I don't know, I tend to gain rapport with them first, have a conversation. And within that conversation, I'll say, hey, who do you buy your energy from? And I always get this weird look, like, what do you mean? Like PP&L, MedEd, and they'll tell me, and I'd be like, hey, I have a way that I can help you take a small discount on the bill that you pay every month. Would you mind shoot me a picture of bill just so I can give you a free review, just review your bill to see if I'm able to help you. Guys, that's worked for me. And like I said, I had better success in the cold market than I did within my own warm market, but everybody is different. So understand that with your warm market, you can, your mom, your aunt, uncle, brother, sister, you can tell them your why and, why you want them to support your business and switch, and they're going to do it. But when you get out in the cold markets, it's a little differently. You got to approach that in a whole different, manner. And it's just really just building rapport with people and having a conversation, and then just, within the conversation say, hey, who do you buy your energy from? And they always give me a weird look, and I'll just be like, I have a way that maybe I could save you some money on your monthly bill. Would you mind sending me a bill? It's funny, I just had a girl tonight on my team send me a bill. One of her friends had sent it to her, and they're with another energy company. I won't say the name, but this customer is paying 15.9 cents per kilowatt. I mean, listen, we're going to be able to literally cut that customer bill in half. All right. Now that doesn't always happen. So one of the other things that, Andy had asked me to talk about tonight on the phone or on this conference call was, another way I get customers is, because I've been doing it for so long, is that you got to learn to wrap around the customers that you currently have. So most of you guys on the phone are new, but this is a tip you want to take away, that when you start to develop a customer base, you want to put a reminder in your phone to call that customer back within like 3 or 4 months after they're their customer, and ask them if they're happy with everything. And they always tell me yes. And so what that does is it breaks open the walls for me to get through to their family, so I don't have to go through their family to gain trust, because I've already gained their trust. And so with that, I'll ask them for referrals within their family. Like, hey, would your mother, brother, sister, aunt, uncle be interested in saving some money on their energy bill? And again, they're speaking for me. They'll, because they've been with me for a few months, and they'll say to them, hey, listen, I've been with her for a few months, everything's good. And so it's not, I don't have to earn their trust at that point, because I can do it through the referrals. Oh.
Okay. So, talking to Tara, I actually took away a big tip from her when I made senior director and started building that organization. Tara is now. Listen, there is no right or wrong way to operate your business. Whether you want to get them qualified and then start digging into their contacts and start building teams that way, but Tara does it in a very unique way, and which I agree and have kind of adopted for my team as well, Team Surge. But we like to help our associates that join the business get their 15 customers first before digging into their contacts and helping build a team. And we do this for two reasons. Number one, we do this because it helps them cut their teeth and build thick skin in the business, because you're going to get a ton of no's. And by the time you get to that 15th customer and you trigger that third bonus, you also have something to show them, because one of the first questions when you're approaching friends and family about joining your business is, well, how much have you made? Well, now you have 3 bonuses that you can pull up in your phone now and show them that, listen, I've gotten my 15 customers, I've made $1,200, this business works, let's get you started. So, Tara, can you kind of talk why you like to adapt that method of helping them gather their first 3 bonuses and 15 customers first?
Yeah, I adopt that method because remember, with new associates, it's about them. It is about them. And 9 out of 10 people, they're not so confident when they first start. They're not sure what they're doing. And I just think it's very difficult to go to somebody that whether they're credible or just your friend or family, and say, hey, join my business, and you haven't made a dime.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that it says a lot about a person who can get 15 customers can kill this business. If you can get 15 customers, you're in it to win it. And so in some senses, it helps me weed out who's serious about the business and who's not. And it, like I said, it also gives us the ability to help them make money, because the entire point of this business is obviously bonuses and this, but is residual income. So I almost make it like it's mandatory for you to get 15 customers before I'm willing to check out in the trenches with you and start showing this business opportunity. Because like I said, again, they're putting me in front of their friends and their family, right? And the trust is with them. But just because I did it doesn't mean that they want to know that the person that's showing it to them has also been successful and done it themselves. So I just, for me, that's just the way it's always been. 15 customers, let's get through that. If it takes you 3-4 months, that's fine. Take your time. I don't tell people to take time, but my point is that you have to allow somebody to evolve and grow into this business, and they're going to be a lot better out there speaking about the business. So my main focus is when somebody comes on, let's work on 15 customers. And then after that, then we go from there.
Yeah, see, I love that. And it's actually something that I do with my team. Now, I mean, obviously, if they get somebody hot to trot right away,
Mm-hmm.
You do want to talk to them, of course.
Yeah, absolutely.
But for the most part, the main focus of our team, and for that I've actually taught my leaders as well, is let's help them get their first 15 customers first. And then we can go from there. Because like Tara said, that's actually going to weed out the runners in this business. Because if you can get your 15 customers, and I can personally attest to this because the people that I've helped get 15 customers ended up being runners in this.
Absolutely.
The ones that didn't, for the most part, they're not here anymore. Okay, they're in witness protection. So that's one of the reasons why I have adapted Tara's method, and it actually works. But Tara, you've actually had great success in helping teach your team to gather customers. So what is kind of the process that you go about? I know you pretty much focus on your leaders and teach them how to do it so that they can teach. But
Right.
When you have people come into your downline that you actually do sit down with, what's your process of helping them create that duplication and gathering?
So like this Monday, we're having a fast track training in Lancaster. So I've started to adopt these trainings because our team is getting pretty big at this point.
Mm-hmm.
But normally when I would get a person who joins, we sit down and we write a list of 15 people. And what I do is I'll sit there with them and help them make the phone calls. Because what will happen is if you tell them to make the phone call, you're going to leave. They're going to get scared to death and not know what to say. And they're not going to call anybody. So it's almost like forcing the person into being uncomfortable, but yet they know that you're sitting right beside them. And that's the biggest obstacle we overcome as leaders when we bring somebody in this business is forcing them to be uncomfortable, because it's very uncomfortable for them. They don't know what they're talking about. So one of a girl that I have on my team, I haven't been able to do that with her because she lives a good distance from me. So when she gets a bill, she'll send me a copy of the bill, and me and her will utilize, we'll go over the bill, we'll do the math together. So I'm teaching her what it is that she's looking at. The worst thing you could do is just sign an associate up and say, go get customers, and not train them how to read a bill. Don't, have no communication with them. Like they're babies in the business. You've got to, be right beside them, hold their hand. At least by 15, they usually at that point, they get it and they feel comfortable in what they're talking about. And so they'll run by themselves without you there. And I promise you, if you just spend a little bit of time with your new people and train them correctly on what they're doing, it will pan out for you. So it's just a list of 15 people. And listen, 7 of them are going to probably say no. That's the reality of it all. So I set like realistic expectations for them.
Yes, guys, that's very important when you're getting your new people started, is you want to set realistic expectations for them. You want to let them know that you're going to get more no's than you are going to get yeses. Listen, if you get 3 of 10 yeses, yes, 3 out of 10 times, that's good. Believe it or not, that's good. In baseball, that puts you in the Hall of Fame. So kind of think of it that way. But also, you want to sorry, kind of lost my train of thought there. So, yeah, I'm totally lost. All right, we're just going to open it. We're just going to open it up to some Q&A, guys. So if you guys have any questions for Tara and I, sorry Steve had to run. He had a prior commitment with his wife. So if you guys have any questions for either of us, you can unmute your lines and we'll be happy to answer them. Nobody?
Oh. I think George Pearson has a question. He better stop driving and unmute his phone.
All right. Well, Tara, do you have any final thoughts?
Yeah, one other thing I just wanted to cover, especially because there's a lot of leaders on this on this call tonight. Guys, make sure that you're getting into your back office with your new associates and making sure that these customers are going into pending and not sitting in pre-verification for more than a few days, because new people don't understand that. So sometimes they'll put a customer in, like I have George, who's had a customer sitting in pre-verification for a few weeks now, and I had to call him and say, listen, you got a customer who's just sitting there. So we as leaders need to be on that back office, tracking that. Sometimes they're new, they make mistakes when they're putting things in, but just making sure that the customers go through. And also teaching them how to, utilize their back office. Even if they're not paying for the entire suite, they can still go back in there, look at their customers, make sure that they're, going into pending. And that's another thing I do right from the gate, is teach them how to get in there and look at their customers.
All right, great. Well, Tara, thank you for coming on. I love talking to you, even though you are a Steelers fan. I'm not going to hold that against you.
Look at this. The best cup on this. See that, Mary Cannon? See this, Mary Cannon?
I see it. Wait,
all right, guys.
I do have a question for you.
Okay.
You'd be talking about the Penguins.
She's not a hockey fan.
Wait, Tara, I do have a question for you. So when you're sitting there with your peeps and let's say you get somebody, sure, Sue, I'll help you. I'd love to support your business and I'm going to be a customer. You go through the process at that time, right, where you get a copy of their bill and you have the new associate talk to the customer and sign them up as a customer at that time. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I do it right away. And another thing that you guys want to really focus on with your new people is teaching them the culture of reviewing their customers. It has to be taught right from the gate.
The culture of what?
Of teaching they got to renew their customers.
Right.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
It's a huge practice of mine. Listen, I tell them, if somebody's going to trust you with their bill and give you their business, yes, Stream's going to email them. Yes, Stream's going to reach out to them, but they're your customer. It's your job. And that's something that I just don't ever steer away from.
Not to mention, it's your business.
Exactly.
So keeping them renewed. Listen, they're trusting you to keep them at a low rate. So it is your business, and this is not a hobby. It is a business. So you want to help teach your team. Not only should you be renewing your own customers, but you want to be teaching your team how to renew customers as well. So does anybody else have any questions? George, you good?
George is off mute. Do you have anything you want to say, George?
No, man, I just got to get that customer out of verification.
And George is my Steelers fan with me too, so.
Well, nobody's perfect. All right, guys, at this point, I'm going to end the call. I want to thank you all for joining us. Tara, thank you very much for all those awesome training tips. Steve, I know you're going to be watching the replay to see how this ended. Thank you for jumping on. Your website's awesome, guys. Again, it's train2succeed.com. And it's one of the best training websites, especially for those of you that are new in the business, and getting all the information in one place. And even for the veterans. On the for the veterans, I just want to refresh some things. So, guys, I want to thank you all for joining us, and have a great night.
All right, good night, guys.
Take care.
Good night.